The Next Generation's the opposite of the original series because the first season sucks and the third season starts to be good.
I think
it
the
gets
first
better
season
and better and
was
better.
awkward.
No, you don't. You don't think the first season
I do.
of the next
It introduces Q.
That is absurd.
It was awkwardly acted, I thought.
That is absurd.
It's funny that
It all the best of both worlds is the greatest achievement in the history of television until Game of Thrones. And after the best of both worlds, it becomes a great television show.
That's an episode, The Best of Both Worlds?
It's 2 episodes.
Oh, which one is?
Locutus of Borg.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, yeah, yes.
Borg was such good
good
writing
episode.
too.
It's unbelievable. And after that, they brought the high collar in, they got the cooler phasers, they got the new model, everything got cool. But man, those first couple seasons, it's the Love Boat in space.
See, this is our Western canon. The future generations need to know Star Trek.
It's Disney, man.
Dude, I posted
anymore.
this clip because there are so many people who are naysayers. I'm surprised there are people who would watch a show like this, but also be like, I'm not watching Star Trek. Yeah. And I'm just like, no, you don't understand. We're not talking about, wouldn't it be cool to be in a spaceship with lasers? We're talking about naval tradition. We're talking about military officers defending the freedom and civil liberties of individuals, going to planets where they experience terrorism. That line when Data goes to Picard and says, "I'm having trouble understanding, the conduct of these people. They're engaging in terrorism." And then Picard says, "I do not subscribe to the belief that political power is derived from the barrel of a gun." And then Data says, "But if you look at history," and then he names like 2 real examples, but then fictional future examples where terror actually worked. And Picard's like, these are questions that humanity struggles with. Like, that's why the show is good.
Yeah.
The philosophical and moral explorations.
And I was being somewhat facetious, but there is a component to the fact that Star Trek did often include the great work. So they reference Shakespeare. You have episodes about, Greek mythology. They really included things that today most people are completely unaware of, which is sad. But you could actually learn about them from Star Trek and then start to do a deep dive because kids aren't learning it in school.
That's right.
Yeah.
I do have a special soft spot for laser beams though, when they roughhouse with an alien dude in a costume.
I do too. One of my least favorite things about all the new iterations of Star Trek, starting with the J.J. Abrams and all the way through Picard right now, is that they've basically gotten rid of phasers and everything's just a Star Wars style blaster now.
Phasers to stun, man.
They call them phasers, but they don't have beams. They're like little bolts.
But they were little clickers. In the Next Generation, they were miniaturized little clickers. They would just point, which would be very difficult to aim.
Oh yeah, you couldn't. I think every time I watch the Next Generation, I just think, you just killed everybody. You'll see. What is this?
I wonder if they aim themselves.
One of the things that was positive about it, and the reason my dad used to watch it with us as kids is because his view, he told us when we got older, was that it was very much a positive influence because they would exhaust every peaceful option they could, but they would still fight when they had to. So it wasn't completely pacifist, but they were all about seeking the nonviolent solution when possible.
And they didn't hesitate in the face of threat. They would fight immediately.
They would fight when they needed to.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
The original series was so pro-American. I grew up with the Next Generation. I love the Next Generation, right? I'm a sucker for all Star Trek. But the original series is morally and philosophically so much better because it's deeper and richer. It was at the height of real sci-fi, especially the first season and a half, where they really were asking all these questions for the first time. And you have these episodes where Captain Kirk will beam down to a planet that is utopia. Everyone there has all the food they can eat. They have, it never rains. There's no hail. There's no weather. Everything is perfect. And he'll look around and say, this place is crap. I'm gonna go destroy the computer that has made you all mental slaves.
Yeah.
And he'll ruin their utopia to set them free. And you talk about things you can't do on television now. You could never say that utopia is bad because people aren't free.
That's so true.
That's interesting.
So this is what people have pointed out. Have you been following the new Picard?
Oh yeah, of course.
I don't think I'm gonna watch it.
I didn't even bother.
I didn't mind season 1 of Picard. But season 2, for those that aren't aware, is about, what is it, the 2022s or whatever?
The 2020, yeah.
22, 20s or whatever?
2024.
So the Star Trek crew, Picard, which are in the future, have to transport themselves back in time to 2024 because something happened that turned Earth into a human supremacist planet.
Right.
And I'm just like, this is the stupidest thing I have ever
Political
heard.
propaganda.
Oh, it's absolutely absurd, by the way. And I've seen every episode that's out so far. I can't help myself. But I'm such a sucker for nostalgia. And the first season of Picard is terrible. But when you get to the end and we get the actual Data Picard death scene that we were robbed of in the films, you go, Yeah, I'll follow you guys through the gates of hell. Tell me how all humans are fascists. I'm in. Yeah. I want to watch.
Yeah, they never talk about Vulcan supremacists. It's interesting. But Vulcans don't have institutional powers, so they're not.
The first thing is, it's clear that the Picard series is just, member berries. Remember the Borg? Remember Picard? And then, they meet everyone, and it's just give me a series that follows Deep Space Nine in the continuity, and we can move beyond the Dominion War or whatever, for those that are fans. And but instead, what they're doing is, we're going back in time again. Yeah, that's right. And the characters they bring back, so you've watched the first 2 episodes, I'd imagine, of Picard?
First 4, yeah.
First 4 already out? Mm-hmm. Man, I've been working too much. But Q does not feel like Q. When he's like, this is not a lesson, Picard, it's penance. I'm like, come on. Yeah. Q is the guy who showed up with the mariachi band, smoking a cigar and dancing, not some torture of some great message or anything.
He's just chaotic.
You're not with him. You're not allowed to have fun. Right. This is what's different now. You're not allowed. If you watch ads at the Super Bowl, and they're all important. The words you would use for the ad agent, they would say, "This was an important ad at the Super Bowl," or "This was a beautiful ad at the Super Bowl," or "This was a touching ad at the Super Bowl." But what are the really funny ads at the Super Bowl? Yeah. I'm getting people keep writing in telling me that the Jeremy's Razor shameless plug, you can see it at IHateHarrys.com commercial. Hundreds of people are writing it. This is the best commercial I've ever seen. I'm very proud of the commercial. It's not the best commercial that's ever been made. Why they're responding that way is because it is the best commercial that's been made in a decade. Because it's the first commercial in a decade where you can just laugh at it.
It's good. It's what's that movie, Fall Guy? Is that what it is with Ryan Reynolds?
Fall Guy?
Is that what it's called? No. Is that what the movie's called?
Which one? When?
Some movie that just came out where
Adam
he's
Project?
Free Guy. I think.
Free Guy. It felt like Free Guy,
right.
but almost produced on that level.
And I just wanted to add, my compliments to the commercial were so good. The Daily Wire actually
picked that one up,
pushed my video out, because good commentary from Tim.
Yeah, we need more like that.
You mentioned these people seeing their advertisements as important, and this is one of these things that if they could just step out of their little box for 3 seconds, they would understand how ridiculous it is. Just the phrase "This is going to be the most important Coca-Cola commercial of all time."
Let me. I want to go back to let's wrap this back to Star Trek. How and why does a network, a company say, we have this IP, this popular IP. We have decades of storytelling and movies and series. Let's just put them in 2024 to fight Trump.
I know why.
It's nothing to do with any of the history. If you want to make a show about time travelers who fight Donald Trump, make the show. Mm-hmm. I'd probably watch it anyway just to see what you're talking about. But why make Picard do it?
And then Star Trek Discovery, Stacey Abrams shows up as the president of United Earth.
Wow.
Oh, she actually got cheated out of that election.
That's trash.
Who are they speaking to?
Themselves. They're speaking to themselves.
I honestly wonder if they're even doing that.
It's funny. We were, oh man, I really wanted to get into this earlier, but it blew past us, and now's the perfect time to segue to it. You were discussing the Western canon, and part of why it's so important to tell good stories is because it's where people get their morality from. Mm-hmm. Yes, it helps to give people moral precepts and principles, but ultimately people are going to act on the basis of who they admire and the stories that they know. And so part of why they need to change these stories is because though they weren't perfect, some of them actually had decent values. And so what you need to do is retcon them and shove your own values into it so that you can control people.
This is what people say because I tweeted a video from The Next Generation where an admiral at Starfleet orders Data to give up his child to the state, and Picard is like, no, and he risks his career. He says, men of good conscience will defy orders. To compel a man to give his child to the state, not while I'm captain. And I was like, man, that was so awesome. And then everyone said the new Picard series, he would do the opposite. He would say, for the betterment of the family, we must allow, and for safety and security. That's the message we'd get across now from Picard. His values are gone. Yeah, and that's kind of sad to me. The character should have been left just as it was. But
they can't do it. They can't help themselves because they can't create. They can't make new things. They have to pervert what other people have already made.
Roddenberry's gone.
This is true, which is why they take this long history show and then change it. But it's also they want to destroy the character Picard represented, the values he represented. They want to take him away as a role model from people who believed in these civil libertarian values.
Yeah, this is one of the reasons that we got into making movies at Daily Wire is because so much content that exists now exists to tell you that you don't deserve these characters. And so you see it in these superhero movies quite a lot. You watch the beginning of Endgame, and Captain America, who in the first Avengers movie, Captain America says, there's only one God and he doesn't wear tights, and he's a character from the 1940s.
Yep.
Who goes to lies about his age to go fight the Nazis. He wears red, white, and blue, and literally is called America. Yeah. That's the character. And then he gets frozen in ice, and he wakes up in the 20th century. And by Endgame, it opens up, and he's in this counseling session, and we have to have the reveal that the person who is sharing an insight with him is a married gay man, a gay married gay man. I would say a gay married gay man because gay men have been married throughout all of human history, and it didn't mean what we mean now, right? It's a gay married gay man. And why do that? You can say, well, it's to be inclusive. It's to show people that even gay married gay men have a place in the world. But that's not why they do it. If that's why they did it, I might even go, okay, we can live it. But that isn't the motive. The motive is to say, all of you red state, flyover, MAGA hat wearing, love America, wear red, white, and blue guys, literal Captain America doesn't belong to you. Yeah. You don't get to claim him. He belongs to us. We can give him any set of values that we want. In fact, if you watch that whole Marvel Avengers arc, remarkably, Captain America becomes the renegade character during Civil War, and Iron Man, Tony Stark, becomes the representative of state power. Like, it's an unbelievable inversion of those characters because they don't know what the characters mean. It's not because they don't know. It's because they actually reject what the characters stand for.
Hold on. You're not familiar with the Captain America Nomad arc?
I'm not, no.
Captain America, I haven't read all this stuff. It was before my time, but there was a period where Captain America abandoned the name and called himself Nomad because, the point they were making was if you truly believe in America, you don't always stand by the government for whatever it does.
Sure.
So, that's a general idea. I actually thought Civil War was fairly well done. I mean, Captain America was the guy saying, I'm not going to sign over my rights to the state. I'm an individual. And Tony Stark is a corporate warmonger who's like,
interesting take.
The state, is right. Sign out. We have to. I thought the politics in that were fairly good, albeit the Marvel movies are like kindergarten grade entertainment.
Oh, yeah.
Captain America's war propaganda was created to fight Nazis and get people riled up about World War II. And keep that in mind forever moving forward, that was war propaganda.
Well, I want to make this point. Part of why it's so instructive that is Captain America is because the left has this fetish for projecting their values onto the people who fought the Second World War. So they're always claiming that they're the ones fighting Nazi. You'll see memes floating around of the brave young men storming Normandy, and it says, this is Antifa trying to fight Nazis. I did a cartoon about this a while ago called Fighting Nazis Then vs. Now, and what it was based on was this exact premise, because my grandfather fought in the Second World War. He played a very key role in ensuring that the officers at the Flossenburg concentration camp were caught and placed on trial. He really had an incredible and harrowing tour, and he would not use your pronouns. I mean, this is not somebody who's going to or would comply with left-wing values. Yeah, exactly. I made a whole cartoon about this point, but it's so funny to me that the left wants to claim that they own these people, even though if they were alive today, and those who are alive today from that era don't agree with them at all, if they even think about them.
Yeah. I wonder if the speed at which we're communicating, the bifurcation of culture, it's leading to some say peaceful divorce. Perhaps because of the internet, it could be something we haven't seen in the past, or civil war maybe. But I just don't see how there's any reconciliation with the modern iteration of the left sphere of influence, because the things they believe are just not aligned with reality.
I think it comes to the individual slowing down their thoughts, because if your mind is moving super rapidly with the information, like a car traveling so fast on the road, a minor variation in the wheel will send that thing flying off course. And the same thing happens to your brain if it's on overload activity all the time. So it's really, I don't think there's a top-down solution. It'll be up to people to control themselves and let this stuff flow past them while still acknowledging it.
Are we doomed? Or is it going to be all right?
I don't think we're doomed.
I think both.
I think things can get bad for a while. I think things might get bad for a while. I wouldn't say that we're doomed, though. It's a pretty easy prediction to say that things are going to get bad for a while, but also in the long run, I don't know how things are going to turn out.
My mentality is very much like, I got to be honest with everybody. I had it bad most of my life, up until my mid-20s, when, for the next few years, my career started taking off and things started generally improving. And so for me, my attitude's always kind of just been like, all of this is icing on the cake. You know, if people were unwilling to fight for their values and and everything fell apart, the food shortages get really bad, and I wake up, you know, in 6 months homeless and with no food, I'd be like, oh, you know, been there, done that. I'm not really worried about it. Granted, I don't have a family, so a lot of people who do would be much more terrified of something like that.
If tomorrow all the things were gone I'd worked for all my life.
Oh, yeah.
If you had to start again with just your children and your wife?
Oh, here we go. Yeah.
Thank my lucky star.
No, I just, there's I think it was Zuby who said this, that if you took all of the property from every single person and then gave everyone, you know, $10,000, the people who were rich before would become rich, and the people who were poor before would become poor.
For the most part.
This is a hard conversation. Maybe we can go to the after show, because it really comes down to eugenics, like this concept of eugenics, where it came from and what it all means. Like the fact that people even think of themselves as an elite class and that there's everybody else, and that or the plebeians is what the Romans called them, and then there's the central intelligentsia. Like, I don't know, is that real? Like you just stated.
Well, a lot of things are real. A lot of things that are unseemly are real, but not everything that's real is not everything that's true is capital T truth. Like, I think that one of the problems, this kind of comes back to the ideology dogma thing. We sometimes take observations that we make or measurements that we make, things that are true, and because you're not allowed to say a lot of things that are true in our culture right now, it's subversive to even think about them. And the result of that is that whenever you do engage with those ideas, you're engaging in them in the worst places possible with people who are like probably taking them to the furthest extreme. And it becomes easy for us to, so, you know, like you become a eugenicist in your mind like Hitler was in the 20s and 30s or something, which is obviously a grave evil thing. I mean, it's obviously true. It's an obvious truth that simply because something is generally true, it's not specifically true. That because, for example, Asian Americans have a higher IQ than white Americans, just to avoid any of the races you're not allowed to talk about. There's nothing racist about talking ill of Asians, right? So Asians statistically higher IQ than white people. But that the smartest person in the world could be a white person, and it would still be true that statistically Asians have a higher IQ. So you end up in this situation where the truth about the general truth can sometimes blind us to the specific truth. And that's where I think that's where a lot of tribalism, a lot of isms come from that aren't good.
You get into the nuance of what does it mean to be Asian? Are you referring specifically to like Southeast Asian? Are you referring to the Philippines? Are you referring to India?
Of course.
And then those things all play a role. I think the problem with stereotypes is that people hear the word Asian and they exclude Indians. But particularly in Europe, you say the word Asian and they include Indians. Mm-hmm. So we're not even necessarily hitting at the same points.
Yeah, I agree. I'm only making the point that when we talk about these difficult issues like eugenics, are some people born with advantages? Of course they are. People are born with high IQs and people are born with low IQs. More people are born with low IQs than people are born with high IQs. One of the challenges in ordering society is not judging people based on those generalities. But that doesn't mean that there aren't specific realities that people are different. There are people born with advantages. You can leave IQ out of it. IQ is the hardest thing to talk about because everyone is the smartest person they know. It's just your ability to perceive someone smarter than you is capped by your own intelligence.
Love it.
But it's very easy for me to acknowledge that like LeBron James is better than basketball than I am. And you could say, if I practiced really hard, I could be better than, no, I couldn't. If I practiced really hard, I could be better than me. But no amount of practice will make me better than LeBron. If LeBron didn't practice and I did practice, he would still be better than me. Now, if we played a game of, LeBron and I play a game of pig, and instead of playing pig, we just play puh. And LeBron says, whoever wins this game of puh, gets $1 million. I might win the $1 million. Every now and then he misses, and every now and then I don't. But if you make it pih, his chances go up exponentially. If you make it pig, they go up even radically. If you make it horse, I will never win statistically ever. There's no world where I will ever win that. He has those advantages. There's no question about those advantages.
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. But if you want to check out the full show live, tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And if you want more special access content, head over to timcast.com and become a member. Your membership helps sustain this company, keep our journalists employed, makes this show happen, and you will get access to exclusive members-only segments of the Timcast IRL podcast, and there's a massive library to check out. So again, go to timcast.com or tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., and we'll see you all there.